My wife bought me a name tag that says, "Hello, my name is Loser," and demands I wear it to all family events. She says it's honest and will help people understand who they're dealing with right away. I'm sitting here at 2 a.m., staring at this thing on my nightstand, wondering if I'm losing my mind or if this is as messed up as it feels. Let me back up. I'm 34, been married to Sarah for 8 years. Things weren't always like this. We met at a community college where I was taking night classes while working retail during the day. She was studying business, had her whole life mapped out. I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do with mine. She said she found my uncertainty charming back then. The name tag thing started about 2 years ago. I'd been laid off from my job at an electronics store and was struggling to find work. Sarah got promoted to some management position around the same time, and suddenly our dynamic shifted. She started making these little comments about how I was dragging her down and how she needed to be honest about what she was dealing with. The first time she made me wear something was at her work Christmas party. She handed me a baseball cap that said "unemployed" in reflective letters. When I refused, she started crying right there in our bedroom, saying I was ashamed of who I was and that a real man would own his failures. She said if I couldn't be honest about my situation, how could she trust me with anything else? I wore the hat. People stared. Her coworkers made jokes. Sarah acted like everything was normal, introducing me as my husband who's between opportunities right now while pointing at my hat. I felt like I was shrinking into myself with every conversation. That was just the beginning. Even after I found a new job, nothing fancy, just stocking shelves at a grocery store, the accessories kept coming. T-shirts with phrases like underachiever or professional disappointment. She'd buy them online and present them like gifts. "I saw this and thought of you," she'd say with this weird smile. The worst part is how she frames it. She calls it radical honesty and says most couples live in denial about each other's flaws. She says I should be grateful she's not pretending I'm something I'm not. When I try to argue, she flips it around and asks why I'm so ashamed of myself that I can't handle a little truth. Last month, we went to her sister's baby shower. Sarah handed me a name tag that said, "Hello, my name is Burden," and told me to put it on. I said no. She immediately started this whole scene in our driveway, crying and saying I was rejecting her attempts to help me grow as a person. She said the name tag was a conversation starter that would help me acknowledge my impact on others. I ended up wearing it because I didn't want to ruin her sister's day with a fight. But sitting in that room full of successful people, watching them read my name tag and give me these pitying looks, I've never felt so small in my life. The grocery store job pays the bills, but it's not exactly career material. I work night shifts, come home exhausted, and Sarah's always there with some new way to help me be more self-aware. She started making me introduce myself at social events by saying, "Hi, I'm Mike and I'm a disappointment." She says it's freeing and that I should embrace my authentic self. I tried talking to my brother about it, but he just laughed and said marriage is about compromise. My dad thinks I should be grateful to have a wife who's honest with me. My mom just changes the subject whenever I bring it up. The name tag for the wedding is sitting right here next to me. "Hello, my name is Loser." Part of me wants to throw it in the trash, but I know Sarah will just buy another one. She's already told me she's excited for people to see how open and honest our relationship is. I keep thinking about how she used to look at me when we first met, like I was someone worth knowing. Now she looks at me like I'm a project she's trying to fix, and the fixing involves making sure everyone else knows how broken I am. Is this normal? Am I being too sensitive? I honestly don't know anymore. Update 1. Holy shit, I didn't expect this to blow up. Reading all your comments has been a lot. Some of you are really angry on my behalf, and I'm not sure how to process that. I've been telling myself this is just how marriage works, but maybe it's not. So I didn't wear the name tag to the wedding. I left it at home and told Sarah I forgot it. She was furious, but we were already at the venue, so she couldn't do much about it. She spent the entire reception telling people I was going through a rebellious phase and apologizing for my immaturity. But here's the thing, without that stupid name tag, people actually talk to me like a normal person. Sarah's cousin's new husband and I ended up having a great conversation about sports. Her uncle asked me about my job and seemed genuinely interested when I told him about the logistics of overnight stocking. Nobody looked at me with pity or made awkward jokes. It felt normal. Like I was just a guy at a wedding instead of a walking advertisement for failure. Sarah didn't talk to me the whole drive home. When we got to the house, she exploded. She said I'd humiliated her by not wearing the name tag and that I'd misrepresented myself to her family. She said people would think she was married to someone who was fake and dishonest about his own limitations. Then she said something that really got to me. She said, "I've been trying to help you accept reality, but you're too proud to see it. You are a loser, Mike. You're 34 years old and you stock shelves for minimum wage. You've never finished anything you started. You're not going anywhere in life. The name tag isn't the problem, you are." I just stood there while she said all this stuff. Part of me wanted to argue, but another part of me was thinking, maybe she's right? I mean, I'm not exactly setting the world on fire. I did drop out of community college. I have bounced between jobs. Maybe I am a disappointment. But then I remembered how it felt at the wedding, talking to people who didn't know I was supposed to be ashamed of myself. I remembered feeling like a real person instead of Sarah's pet project. I told her I wasn't wearing any more of her honesty accessories. She said fine, but that meant I couldn't come to any more family events because she wasn't going to be embarrassed by my deception. She said if I wanted to live in denial, I could do it alone. So now I'm sleeping on the couch and she's acting like I'm the one being unreasonable. She keeps leaving articles about toxic masculinity and male ego on the coffee table. Yesterday she bought me a new t-shirt that says Fragile Male Ego and left it on my pillow. I called in sick to work today because I just needed to think. I've been walking around our neighborhood trying to figure out how my life got to this point. When did I become someone who needs to wear a sign advertising his failures? When did I start believing that's what I deserve? I'm starting to think maybe some of you are right. Maybe this isn't normal. Maybe I don't have to live like this. But I'm scared. What if she's right about me? What if I really am a loser who's too proud to admit it? What if this is the best I can do and I'm just too stubborn to see it? I don't know what to do next, but I know I can't keep living like this. The name tag is still sitting on my nightstand and every time I look at it I feel this knot in my stomach. I think that's my answer right there. Update 2. It's been 3 weeks since my last update and everything has changed. I mean everything. First, thank you to everyone who reached out. Seriously. I got hundreds of messages and while I couldn't respond to all of them, I read every single one. You guys probably saved my life and I'm not being dramatic. So here's what happened. The day after I posted my first update, I was still sleeping on the couch. Sarah came home from work with a new gift, a custom-made name tag that said, "Hello, my name is Delusional." She said since I was living in fantasy land about my own worth, I might as well advertise it properly. Something about that name tag just broke something in me. I looked at it, then looked at Sarah, and I realized I didn't recognize either of us anymore. When did I become someone who even considered wearing something like that? When did she become someone who thought it was okay to ask me to? I told her I was done. Not just with the name tags and t-shirts, but with all of it. I said I was moving out. She laughed. Actually laughed. She said I couldn't survive without her, that I'd be back within a week, begging her to take me back. She said no one else would ever want someone like me and that she was doing me a favor by staying with me at all. That's when I realized something that probably should have been obvious years ago. This wasn't love. This was something else entirely. I called my brother that night. Really called him, not just the surface level stuff. I told him everything, the name tags, the t-shirts, the way Sarah made me introduce myself at parties. I told him how small I felt all the time, how I'd started believing I deserved to be treated like a walking punchline. My brother was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Mike, I knew something was wrong, but I thought you were okay with it. I thought it was just Sarah being Sarah. I should have said something." He helped me move out that weekend. Turns out I didn't have as much stuff as I thought. Most of my clothes were Sarah's honesty accessories that I left behind. My brother let me crash at his place while I figured things out. The first few days were rough. I kept waiting for Sarah to call, to apologize, to ask me to come back. But she didn't. She posted stuff on social media about toxic people and walking away from manipulation. She made it sound like I was the problem, like I was the one who'd been unreasonable. For a while, I believed her. I started thinking maybe I was being too sensitive, maybe I should go back and apologize. But then I'd remember how it felt to not wear that name tag at the wedding, how normal it felt to just be Mike instead of Mike the loser. My brother helped me see things more clearly. He said, "Mike, you're not perfect. None of us are. But you're not a loser. You work hard, you're kind to people, you help me move furniture whenever I ask. You're my brother and I love you. That's who you are." It sounds simple, but hearing someone say I was worth something without conditions attached. I cried. Like, full-on sobbed in my brother's kitchen. I hadn't realized how long it had been since someone had said something genuinely nice about me. The grocery store job isn't glamorous, but my manager there, Pete, is a good guy. When I explained I was going through a divorce and needed to pick up extra shifts, he didn't ask questions. He just said, "Whatever you need, Mike. You're one of our best workers." Best workers? When's the last time Sarah had said anything like that about me? I started looking at apartments in my price range. They're not fancy, but they're mine. I found a one-bedroom place about 20 minutes from work. It's small and the carpet is ugly, but when I walked through it, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: peace. The landlord, Mrs. Chin, is this elderly woman who lives in the building. She asked me about myself, and I started to give her the whole "I'm a disappointment" spiel that Sarah had trained me to give. But then I stopped myself. I just said, "I work nights at a grocery store, I'm recently separated, and I'm looking for a quiet place to start over." She smiled and said, "Starting over is brave. I did it myself when I was your age." She approved my application that same day. Moving in was weird. I didn't have much furniture, but my brother and a few guys from work helped me get a couch and a bed from a thrift store. Pete's wife even brought me a casserole and some basic kitchen stuff. "Everyone needs help sometimes," she said. I kept waiting for the loneliness to crush me, but it didn't. Yeah, I was alone, but I wasn't lonely. I was just quiet. I could watch whatever I wanted on TV. I could eat cereal for dinner without getting a lecture about proper nutrition. I could exist without constantly monitoring myself for signs of failure. Sarah finally called about 2 weeks after I moved out. She said she'd been giving me space to come to my senses, but that she was ready to work on our issues if I was willing to acknowledge my part in our problems. She said she'd even let me skip wearing the name tags for a while if I came back. I told her no. She got angry and said I was throwing away 8 years of marriage over a few jokes. She said I was too sensitive and that I'd never find anyone else who would put up with my issues. But you know what? Even if she's right, even if I never find anyone else, I'd rather be alone than feel like I have to wear a sign apologizing for my existence. I've been in my apartment for a week now. I bought a small TV and a coffee maker. I hung up a few pictures my brother gave me, family photos from before I met Sarah, back when I still smiled in pictures. I look at those photos and I remember that guy. He wasn't perfect, but he wasn't a loser either. He was just Mike. I'm still Mike. I stock shelves at night, I pay my bills, I help my neighbors carry their groceries. I'm not changing the world, but I'm not hurting anyone either. I'm just a regular guy trying to figure out his life, and for the first time in years, that feels like enough. The name tag is in a trash can somewhere across town. I don't miss it. Final update. 6 months later, and I'm writing this from my own kitchen table. Funny how something that simple can feel so significant. The divorce was finalized last month. Sarah fought me on everything. She wanted alimony, half my savings, which wasn't much, even my car. Her lawyer made me out to be some kind of deadbeat who'd been financially abusing her by not earning enough money. But my lawyer, a guy my brother recommended who gave me a payment plan I could actually afford, saw right through it. "She's trying to make you pay for leaving her," he told me. "Don't let her." In the end, we each kept our own stuff and went our separate ways. She got the house, which was mostly in her name anyway, and I got my freedom. Best trade I ever made. The grocery store thing turned into something unexpected. Pete recommended me for a supervisor position when the night manager quit. It's not much more money, but it's more responsibility, and it feels good to be trusted with something important. The guys on my crew are good people. We look out for each other, joke around, but get the work done. One of them, Danny, is about my age and went through a similar situation with his ex-wife. We started grabbing coffee after shifts sometimes, just talking about life. He told me something that stuck with me: you can't build a life with someone who's constantly tearing down your foundation. That's what Sarah was doing, I realize now. Every name tag, every t-shirt, every introduction where I had to announce my failures, she was making sure I never felt solid enough to stand up straight. Mrs. Chin, my landlord, has become like a grandmother to me. She brings me soup when I'm sick and I help her with maintenance stuff around the building. Last month, she told me her grandson was struggling in school and asked if I'd help him with his math homework. Turns out I'm actually pretty good at explaining things, and the kid's grades improved. "You're a natural teacher," Mrs. Chin said. "You should think about going back to school." Back to school? The idea terrified me at first. I'm 35 now, and I failed at finishing school before. But then I remembered that I'm not the same person who dropped out of community college. That guy was depressed and lost and being told daily that he was a disappointment. This guy has his own apartment and a job he's good at and people who respect him. I enrolled in online classes to finish my associate's degree. It's just 2 classes to start and I'm taking them slow. But for the first time in my adult life, I feel like I'm moving forward instead of just surviving. My brother says I'm different now. "You stand up straighter," he told me. You look people in the eye when you talk to them. I guess I do. I don't feel like I'm apologizing for existing anymore. I ran into Sarah at the grocery store a few weeks ago, not my store, thankfully, but the fancy one across town. She was with some guy in an expensive suit and she introduced him as her boyfriend who's actually going places in life. She looked at me like she was waiting for me to feel bad about myself, but I just felt nothing. Maybe a little sorry for the guy in the suit if I'm being honest. How's the night shift treating you? She asked with that fake sweet voice she used to use when she wanted to make a point. It's good, I said. I'm a supervisor now. And I'm back in school. Her smile faltered a little. Oh. Well, good for you, I guess. After they left, I realized I hadn't felt the need to explain myself or apologize for my life. I just stated facts and moved on. Growth, I guess. I've been dating someone for about a month now. Her name is Jenny and she's a nurse at the hospital near my apartment. We met at a community center where I volunteer sometimes. Mrs. Chen got me started with that. Jenny was there for a health fair and we started talking while setting up tables. She knows what I do for work, knows I'm divorced, knows I'm in school part-time. None of it seems to bother her. When I told her about the name tags, not everything, just the basic idea, she looked horrified. Someone made you wear what? She said. That's not normal, Mike. That's not okay. It still catches me off guard sometimes having someone validate my feelings instead of telling me I'm too sensitive. Jenny's never seen me wear a name tag or a humiliating t-shirt. She's never heard me introduce myself as a disappointment. To her, I'm just Mike, the guy who makes her laugh, who remembers how she likes her coffee, who helps her carry equipment at the community center events. Last weekend, we went to her friend's birthday party. I walked in feeling good, wearing a regular button-down shirt and jeans. No accessories, no apologetic introduction. Just me. Everyone, this is Mike, Jenny said when we joined a group of her friends. He's the guy I've been telling you about. The guy she's been telling people about. In a good way. We talked about normal things, movies, work stories, travel plans. Nobody looked at me with pity or made jokes at my expense. I wasn't the entertainment or the cautionary tale. I was just part of the conversation. Driving home that night, Jenny said, "You know what I like about you?" "What?" "You're genuine. You don't try to be someone you're not. You're just you. Just me." For 8 years, I thought being me wasn't enough. I thought I needed to advertise my failures so people would know not to expect too much. But the truth is, being me is plenty. I'm not perfect, but I'm not a disaster either. I'm just a regular guy who's figuring things out, and that's okay. I still have the pictures my brother gave me, the ones from before Sarah when I still smiled easily. But now I have new pictures too. Pictures of me at the community center, pictures with Jenny, pictures with Mrs. Chen's grandson when he got an A on his math test. In all of them, I'm smiling. Really smiling. Like someone who's comfortable in his own skin. I've learned that you don't need someone to love you exactly as you are. You need someone who loves you enough to want you to become the best version of yourself. But best version doesn't mean wearing a sign that says loser. It means growing and learning and becoming stronger. Sarah wanted me to shrink. She wanted me small and grateful and ashamed. Jenny wants me to be happy. Mrs. Chen wants me to succeed. Pete wants me to do good work. Danny wants me to be his friend. None of them need me to wear a name tag explaining why I'm not worth their time. They already know I'm worth it. I'm worth it. That's the real final update. I'm worth it and I don't need to apologize for taking up space in the world. I don't need to wear a sign warning people about my imperfections. I can just be Mike, flawed, working on it, but fundamentally okay. The name tag days are over. I'm never going back.